Today, we have a pretty interesting episode of AnalogRev because we have the first, well, not the first, but one of the most recent new analog cameras. Most people aren't making analog cameras nowadays. Film industry is generally in the decline, but as we all know, it's not dead yet. What we're actually also reviewing is the original Polaroid Sx-70. There we go. It's beautiful. SLR670S. And most importantly, this little thing called the time machine. The Sx-70 didn't have as much exposure control, which makes a big difference when it's so hot outside. So then with all these manual controls, we can make sure that the picture is well exposed. MiNT's time machine gives us the extra element of flexibility with our photography. This is a refurbished, very good condition, mint condition, but that's not the other name of the company. Pop it over from the back. On the side here, we lock it like that. This is the half-developed Polaroid, and then while it's developing, I can talk a little bit about the viewfinder. So the viewfinder of this lens is 160 millimeters f8 fixed. The viewfinder is not exactly accurate. It's not too bad. It's pretty accurate, but then the top, there's a lot of space in the top, so the viewfinder doesn't show you everything. So I would probably next time, I'm gonna aim down a little bit lower to get her more in the center of the frame. Well, we're in an interesting part of town, which is kind of like this SLR670S, in which that it's old, but constantly being remodeled with small improvements, although some people might say that they're not exactly improvements. The Polaroid, like Wanchai, is going through a gentrification. This side that, okay. Let's try it. We bought 5 rolls of film from Impossible. They basically vary in terms of ISO speed. Some of them are A600 papers and some of them are A100 papers. Since it's early in the day, we'll go for a color A100. So let me find that out. Let's do the glasses again. Okay, so the lens is not, this camera is not exactly waterproof. It's starting to rain a little bit, so we're gonna hide very soon. We're gonna do a quick one, which is this camera's pretty good for, and let's get out of here. Ah, shit. Contortion. That might be blurry. Where'd it go? Oh.
Oh, that's the last one.
That's the last one. Okay, sorry. Now that's gone. Here we go, empty. Oh yeah, this is the black card, which stops the film from being exposed. So so if I stick it in, I think if I remember correctly, the first shot will be the black card. Oh, there we go. But we have a kind of like an 80s kind of kitschy thing to wear. So can you please put on this hat? Okay. And then maybe in front of this wall. Okay. Okay. Don't record that, let me find out. This is the focusing. Let's let it sit here for a bit. Let's see. Warren is a good friend.
Thanks, man.
Warren's a good friend.
Appreciate that.
Okay. So the 670S is quite expensive, I could say, but it's an important tool for experienced photographers who want control of exposure. And auto exposure is usually fine when you're outdoors, but when you're in a tricky situation like us, hiding away from the sun, and with all this furious backlighting, and we want to try to get our two assistants to be lit up, that's when the manual controls of the time machine from MiNT can actually come into pretty good use. So what I did was I asked Warren to help me spot meter the shadows. Hopefully, let's see if this works out, because normally if you did it without any manual controls, you'd probably get silhouettes. And then I want to expose for the shadows. So let's see if this works. In case you're not too familiar with Polaroid films, basically they take two types of film. Well, this machine does. A100, which is ISO 160, and A600, which is ISO 600. A lot of famous portrait photographers like Walker Evans, Helmut Newton, and Andy Warhol used the Polaroid for portraits, but it was also used by landscape photographers like Ansel Adams. That chair? Yeah. 160 black and white. Okay, so each one of these comes with a little inspirational quote. There we go. So we also have a set of filters. Since we're using black and white now, I'm going to use yellow filter. So how this works is this clips on. Yeah, there we go. Clips on, and then this thing. Okay. And then we clip it down here, and there we go. We got yellow filter right on. Okay, so maybe you can also do that. Yeah. We had a little bit of light leak in some of the previous ones. Not the camera's fault. Probably because of the sun, the harsh sunlight. So, okay, we should probably get out of here, man. Just see here. I just like, every time you shoot Polaroid, I just keep shaking it. Apparently for the old Polaroids, when they had two pieces of like the peel apart ones, like the peel apart film, the film develops behind the paper, so if you shake it, like it might help. But then these modern ones, they are developing underneath a layer of plastic or something. So if you shake it, it doesn't do anything, but it still makes me feel good. This is the shot we just did, and then it looks all right, pretty cool, but there's a bit of a white kind of ghosting flaring there. So then that's probably because that we have this yellow filter here attached. The yellow filter, complicated, it changes colors a bit, but basically it makes skin colors more neutral. Pretty good for black and white, but then it's definitely doesn't have any coating or anything on. So most likely, since it's very bright outside today, bit of like a trapped inside, screw around with flaring and things. So we do have a little bit of that. For all the wonderful aspects of instant film, it would be imperative to note the downsides. During our shoot, we experienced ink leaks, light leaks, scratches in the motion, and uneven exposures. It's something we came to accept, so know that there's no such thing as the perfect Polaroid. Our perception of Polaroid is cheapened because of apps like ViscoCam and Instagram, which they use the aesthetic of Polaroid as like a hipster thing, you know? The original Polaroids were used as art. I feel like this is actually a very decent and logical improvement on a camera which you can use for fun, but you can also use for serious projects. You're not gonna really be blowing this much money on a toy, right? That's what Instax is for. That's what Instant Flex kind of is for. Since this is basically an Sx-70, why don't you just buy one on eBay or something like that? Well, the fact is that this is a very old camera. The Sx-70 was discontinued like in 1981. Buying one is easy, but finding one in a good condition is really hard. So MiNT, you pay the premium, but it's basically a refurbished model already. For these 670Ss, they already chose the best ones they could find. They look as good as new, the leather's all nice, everything's quite, viewfinder's clean, metering is completely redesigned, all the wiring inside is completely like, fixed up. MiNT actually sell 4 different versions of the Sx-70, but the 670S is the only one that offers manual shutter speed control, as well as the ability to automatically work with both A100 and A600 film. Even when compared to the new Impossible i1, the 670S still has a unique advantage: its compact size. Ultimately, that's a huge advantage since it needs to compete with your smartphone for being the first camera that you instinctively reach for in a time of need. So I've been carrying this thing the whole day, and it's actually amazingly light. This thing is like, it's just, like I said before, it's smaller than your average book, but is it a good street photography camera if you're so inclined to do street photography with Polaroid? Right here? Let's see. So yeah, I was trying to take some like sneaky kind of like street photography things, and then if you're kind of, well, I'm not like super shy, but like basically if I'm like taking a picture of some dude or something and I'm trying to like hide it, you know, with like other cameras, like let's say like the G2 or whatever, you can kind of snap it and kind of forget like it happened. But this one, when I shoot, I'm like, oh shit, and it just like comes out. So like you can't really like be like, oh, I didn't shoot a picture.
Hey, I got this, man. The Bambuchis are kind of boring, man.
Dude.
There's a policeman there. I wanted to take a picture of his bike.
Yeah?
But, he didn't seem too happy, so I didn't get anything. But yeah, but bamboos they're kind of cliche, man. Pretty good, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Was it the 600?
This is the A100. Yeah, not bad, eh?
Yeah. Quite like the color film, actually.
Still, despite their addition of the time machine, MiNT can't go back in the past and remake the Sx-70. This is still largely the same camera as it was back in 1972. It still has a fixed f8 lens, it still has no auto metering, and it still has no information in the viewfinder. And it costs $675, which is certainly not cheap. MiNT have stated that they believe this is as good as the Sx-70 will ever get, and I believe it. It's a wonderful reincarnation of a classic that would take great photos with a little bit of work. Instant film is hard to digitize for social media, and there's no added benefit in terms of quality. To put it simply, it's a Polaroid, for better or for worse. The question you should ask yourself is it good enough for your own expectations?
Dude, look at that. Dude, all these pictures that I took. You know, I told you to frame this one as well, man. I'm really chuffed with myself. Like, I thought you were you were supposed to be the photographer here. Oh my gosh, mate. Look at these pics. Oh, look at that. Look at all this. Well, I'm gonna take a piss. You hang tight in there and just think about your compositions for the future shots.